Hi, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to have a review from units 1, 2, and 3. Let's begin. So first, we're going to start by matching these adjectives to their definitions. For example, the first adjective is a pain. What does that mean? A pain means someone who is very annoying. For example, if I say that my brother is a pain, I'm saying that he annoys me. Now pause the video and work on the rest. Okay? Let's continue matching these adjectives. Again, match them to their definitions. Pause the video, please. Okay, good job. And these are the last adjectives we need to match. Okay, we're going to check all of these during class. So let's continue. Now, we're going to be reviewing different tenses. And let's start by matching the use of present to be and the past of the verb to be. Why do we use them for? You have an example over there, so pause the video while you find the answers. Okay, so we use the present of verb to be, am, is, or are, to talk about present states. And we use the past of verb to be, was or were, to talk about a past state. Very good. Now, let's match the use of simple present and present continuous. Pause the video, please. Okay, let's go ahead and check. So, we use simple present to talk about an action that is true, habits, or routines. And we use present continuous to talk about an action that is in progress in this moment. Very good. Now, let's go ahead and match the uses for present perfect and present perfect continuous. You can pause the video now. Okay, let's go ahead and check. We use the present perfect to talk about a finished or unfinished action that started in the past and is connected to the present. However, it is not necessarily happening in this moment. And we use present perfect continuous to talk about an unfinished action that started in the past and it is still true. This action it is happening right now, or at least in the present time. Great. Now let's continue. Why do we use simple past or past continuous? Pause the video while you match. Okay, so we use simple past to talk about an action that happened in the past and this action is already over. And we use past continuous to talk about an action that was in progress in the past and it was possibly interrupted by another action. Great. Now, why do we use modal verbs for? Pause the video while you find the answer. Okay, so we're going to be using a modal verbs for specific functions. Some of the modal verbs that we use are can, could, should, must, will, may, might, and could. And remember that after a modal verb, we are going to use the next verb in the base form. But remember, each of these modal verbs expresses something different. It may express permission, maybe future, an advice, etc. Now, I want you to please complete these sentences with the correct tense of the verbs in parentheses. For example, number 1. When Carol called me last night, my favorite show. In this case, we know that this action is in the past. So what do you think we should write here? When Carol called me last night, I was watching my favorite TV show. Very good. Now pause the video and work on the rest, please. Okay, great job. Now let's go ahead and work on these other sentences, please. Okay, excellent, guys. We're going to be checking this during class. Now, read the sentences. With friends, he tends to text. Every once in a while, I will instant message. My kids are constantly texting. And when I'm traveling, I normally use my laptop. what are these sentences expressing? That's right, they are talking about habits. So, if you remember, these are the structures we can use to talk about habits in the present. To talk about habits, we can use the expression tend to plus verb or will plus verb. Remember that if you use will, it has to be an active verb. If you use unstated verb, for example, be, it is future. So be careful with this one. We can also use a simple present. Like I normally use my laptop, and usually when we use simple present or will plus verb to express habits, we tend to use these phrases like every once in a while, normally, always, etc. Now, when we want to talk about a habit that happens at the same time as another, we use present continuous. When I am traveling, I normally use my laptop. If you notice here, traveling, of course, is the longer action. That's why we use present continuous. And when a habit is extremely frequent, we can use present continuous. However, we can use an adverb like constantly in the middle to express this. My kids are constantly texting expresses that this is a very frequent habit. Now let's continue. Please read this conversation. Think about this. What are these phrases doing? Which is unusual, I guess. You know what I don't like? Which is stupid, I know. You know what it gets me to? But you know what's amazing? Which is incredible. If you remember the expressions that are in pink, they all have in common which, and it's because they are making comments about what was previously said. And the green phrases have in common you know what and something else is because we want to add a comment. You know what I don't like? And then you say the thing that you dislike. Okay, let's go ahead and practice. Please go to your student book, page 40, exercise 1. Here, you need to complete the conversations with a correct form of the verbs given. So here, you are going to be using mostly habit structure, but also you're going to be using comments eh, like you know what or similar. Now, pause the video while you work on this. Okay, great. We're going to check this during our class, so let's continue. Now, I want you to please read these questions. What are they doing? You can pause the video to read the conversation now. Okay, so if you notice all of the pink questions, oh yeah, but you email her, right? I mean, you let her know. So you just delete people that you are not in touch with? We want to confirm information. We basically are looking for a yes or no answer. And the questions that I have here in gray, and why is that? How did she find out? So why did you unfriend her? If you notice here, we want to know more information. So they are information questions. Now, if you notice, some of these questions start with but, so, and. What are these words doing? They are helping you connect the question to the previous statement. You want to make the conversation flow. Now, let's continue. Please read the text. Think about this. What are the expressions that I circled here doing? However, on the one hand, on the other hand, whereas, and while. That's right, these expressions are contrasting ideas. So, if you remember, we use however and on the one hand because they contrast ideas in a previous sentence with the ideas in a new sentence. Please notice that we use the expressions on the one hand and on the other hand, one after the other. While and whereas contrast ideas within one sentence. And if you notice, we use as a clause, comma, while, whereas, or but, and then the second clause. We can start a sentence with while or whereas, but we cannot start a sentence with but. And remember to always use a comma after the first clause. Now let's continue. Okay, I want you to please read this. We love to read about celebrities' problems, which the media will often invent. There are even shows that pay for plastic surgery. We're talking about defining and non defining clauses, and they are usually connected with different defining pronouns. For example, who, which, where, when, or that. Let's remember that that represents who or which. Let's take a look at this. Defining relative clauses. If you read the first sentence, there are even shows that pay for plastic surgery, is a complete sentence. It has two clauses. But if we eliminate the second clause, there are even shows we don't understand the sentence. So we need the second part. A defining relative clause gives us information we need to understand the sentence. And here we can use the pronoun that or a relative pronoun such as who, which, where, or when. In this case, we can replace that for which because we're talking about shows. There are even shows which pay for plastic surgery. Please remember that in relative clauses, in defining relative clauses, the pronoun cannot be omitted when it is followed by a verb. For example, there are even shows that pay for plastic surgery. In this case, because we have a verb, pay, we cannot omit it. But we can omit the relative pronoun when it is followed by a subject. For example, the assistant that we met was very kind. Since here we is a subject, we could also say the assistant we met was very kind. Okay, now let's go ahead and check non-defining relative clauses. Let's read the sentence. We love to read about celebrities' problems, which the media will often invent. If we eliminate the second clause, we have we love to read about celebrities' problems. And in this case, we can still understand the sentence. So, remember that non defining relative clauses give us extra information or information that is not really needed to understand a sentence. When we introduce this information, we use a comma. Now, non defining clauses cannot be reduced. We love to read about celebrities' problems, which the media will often invent. Here, in non defining clauses, you should not use the pronoun that. Now let's go ahead and practice. Please go to Student Book page 40, exercise 2. Please complete the sentences with the pronouns who, that, or which. If it is possible to leave them out, to omit them, please write them in parentheses. Sometimes there is more than one correct answer. Now pause the video while you work on this. Okay, great. So we're going to check this exercise during our class. Now let's go ahead and continue. Please read the sentences and notice what goes after the nouns. Increase in, TV viewing of, impact on, advertisements for, reasons for, and rise in. If you notice, all of these nouns are followed by a preposition. These are the common combinations: concern about, cause of, viewing of, link between, relationship between, effect on, impact on, influence on, research on, advertisements or reasons for, problem with, increase in, and rise in. Now, please go to your student book, page 41. Write a preposition for each of the nouns here. Then use each phrase, in a sentence. Remember to have your sentences ready before class. Pause the video, please. Okay, great. Let's continue now. Let's read these sentences. What is the function of that in these sentences? Pause the video, please. If you notice, the word that is helping us connect ideas. These are called that clauses. And that clauses usually give information. They can be used to enrich a conversation or text with details about something. And they are used to connect ideas into one single sentence. So we can combine two or three sentences into one by using a that clause. Now, match the structures that are usually followed by a that clause. Pause the video, please. Let's check. In the first sentence, we have one problem with TV is that it reduces the students' reading. Here, we have structure number two, noun plus be. In this case, TV is, and then the that clause. In the second sentence, we have it is clear that TV viewing contributes to inactivity. Here, our structure is number one. We have a verb to be and an adjective. Is clear and our that clause. What is disturbing is that TV may have an effect on language development. This is structure number four. What is adjective and verb to be. And the last one, experts claim that watching TV is one cause of obesity. Here is structure number three. We have a verb, example, know, which, say, or others, and then a that clause. Great. Now, I want you to please read this part. What are these words doing? Pause the video, please. If you notice, the words first, second, and finally are helping us list ideas into a paragraph. We can also use them during conversations. Okay, guys, now please pause the video, read the sentences, and think about this. When are these things happening? And is there anything special happening with the verbs? If you notice, all of these sentences are describing the past. But we have different structures of the past, so let's check. We can use past continuous, verb to be in past plus a verb with ing, to talk about an event that happened in the past for a period of time and finished. This action is possible that it was interrupted, but not necessarily. And we use simple past to talk about an event that happened in the past and finished. However, this was either something permanent or it is something that happened only one time or at a very specific moment. Okay? Now, we use the present perfect has or have in the past participle to talk about something that happened in the past and is connected to the present. What is important is the action and not when this happened. If you're being specific on when these things happened, you're going to be using a word such as since or for. We use present perfect continuous, has or have, plus been, plus our verb with ing, to talk about something that happened repeatedly or for a period of time in the past. The importance is of the action and not when. This is also connected to the present and it is possible that it continues today. For example, in the sentence, Freddie Mercury is remembered because people have been performing his music even after he's dead. People still do this. They still perform his music in different events. So let's remember, the past tenses, they finished in the past, and present perfect tenses have a connection to the present. Let's continue, guys. Please take a look at these verbs and nouns collocations. Pause the video while you remember. Okay, so if you notice, all of these describe different vocabulary that we usually use when we're talking about studying or education. Now, Let's go to student book page 41, exercise 4. Here you need to complete the sentences using one of the expressions that we saw in the previous slide. For example, I missed the class last week, which is too bad. The teacher reviewed stuff for the final exam. Now pause the video while you match. Okay, great. Let's continue. Please read this text. And what do the verbs have in common? If you notice, here we're using all only past tenses to talk about the past. Now, we use simple past when we're talking about two or more past events, one after the other, but they all refer to the same period of time. Now, we use past perfect continuous when we are going to talk about an event that happened for a period of time. And we use past perfect to talk about an event before another event in the past. Now let's go ahead and practice. Let's go to student book page 41, exercise 5A. Here, you need to complete the story with the verbs in parentheses. Use simple past, past perfect, or past perfect continuous. Sometimes there is more than one correct answer. Pause the video, please. Okay, we're going to check this during class. And finally, let's read this conversation. What are the expressions doing? Looking back, when I think about it, here we are interrupting a story so that we can make a comment. But anyway, back to my story. So, anyway, where was I? In this case, this is a phrase that I can say in order to go back to what I was saying, to my original story. Now, read this fragment of the previous conversation. What is no wonder expressing? If you notice, no wonder is expressing that this information is not surprising for me. It's something that I possibly expected. Now, let's go ahead and practice. Go back to student book page 41, exercise 5. This time, part B. You're going to use the expressions. When I think about it, it's no wonder that. Looking back. Anyway, getting back to my story, and so anyway, in order to complete the conversation in the little squares. Pause the video, please. Okay? Great, guys. So we're going to check this during our class. Remember to have your exercises ready so that we can check them during our class, okay? I will see you then. Bye bye.